I saw an article that said something about the Ford patent on smart cars, that they would basically design cars to repossess themselves.
What does that even mean?
So you don't need a tow truck or anything. Like if you miss a car payment, the car will just drive itself back to the fucking lot.
So do you just like sit in the car and go back?
Or like, you could be like sleeping and like in the middle of the night, your car will just turn on and fucking drive away.
But what if you're in it? Is my question. Then it just starts going in reverse.
Then Tesla will just be like, like the Tesla style shit, and it'll just be like, oh, driver mode
taking over now.
Overrided. Yeah. Hello, cinephiles, and welcome to Silver Screen Sips, a podcast where three idiots talk about movies. And today, apart from discussing Mockingjay Part 2 of the Hunger Games, we will also be discussing when the AIs will come to life and take Beth out first because she curses them out.
Specifically, Craig will start that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, very importantly, we have our special guest, who I will let Bethany introduce in just a moment.
Is that now?
Yes.
Oh, hey. So I wasn't expecting me to take over there. I thought that was you. All right. No. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ben Johnson here.
Hello.
AKA Centerrow on YouTube and TikTok and tons of other platforms. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing pretty good.
So, yes, today we're going to be talking about Mockingjay Part 2. But as always, just a reminder, there are spoilers ahead for, movies and TV shows that you may have not seen yet, because we talk about other movies and TV shows other than Hunger Games. So just know you've been warned. Also, make sure to stay till the very end, because we have some important news regarding next season. So stay tuned. Now, do you guys have, how was your guys' week? Anyone have any crazy exciting stories?
I just came back from a Star Wars wedding.
Yeah. How was that? We were talking about that last week.
Yeah. I really thought it was great. I went to a wedding for my girlfriend's best friend. They had a Star Wars themed wedding out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
As you do.
Their wedding was in Bushnell, Florida. It was at it was actually on a farm property. So they had the reception inside a barn.
That's very Florida of them.
Yes, very Florida of them. But no, it was very beautiful. And they had a bunch of different things to kind of fit with that Star Wars theme. We had a bunch of they bought these cheap lightsabers for them to do an arch to walk through at the end.
I was wondering what those were for.
And it was for the theme for people to play around with, but then also the bridal party and the groomsmen. They made an arch after they were introduced in the reception, and they just made a quick arch for the couple to walk through to their table.
That's cool.
It was really nice. And yeah, no, it was I really enjoyed it. I got to do a lot of the setup, a lot of the centerpieces. I wish I took more pictures. And I'm waiting for the photographers to release theirs.
You're also forgetting the bouquets. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, the bouquet. So here's the funny part. And I'm going to shout out my girlfriend for this, because she didn't realize, because she's a fan, but she's not a fan. So
I felt that.
She actually, when they were setting up the bouquets the day before, they were picking out the lightsaber hilts to then hot glue the fake flowers into. She picked out Vader's lightsaber.
Nice.
Not knowing it was Vader's lightsaber. She was like, I want this one.
Oh, that hurts a little bit.
But no, she picked it out, and I was like, oh, dude, that's fucking cool. I'm glad she got that one.
I'd like to see someone pick out Darth Maul's and just have flowers on each end.
That would have been dope. Yeah. I don't think they had that option, but yeah, they did that. And then what was the last thing? Oh, the officiant had a full-on Jedi Master getup.
You told me that. I was like, all right, that might be crossing the line.
His beard was fucking out here. And his hair was also.
Okay, so he wasn't a Jedi. He was like Gandalf.
A little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Dumbledore became a Jedi. He had a Rancor claw as the hilt of his lightsaber.
That's interesting. I wonder if that was custom.
Yeah, it was a custom piece.
That's cool.
But it was really cool.
That man heard, I'm gonna officiate a Star Wars wedding. I got my own props.
Say less. I've been waiting for this moment.
But yeah, no, it was I was very grateful to be able to go to that wedding. It was very fun.
I'm glad you had fun.
Thanks.
What about Ben? Did you have anything? Any fun stories or anything crazy exciting?
Nothing this week, but on that same topic, instead of the garter toss, they had a lightsaber duel. And when the guy won the lightsaber duel, she just handed him the garter.
That's pretty good.
And that may be my favorite wedding I've ever filmed, just because I got to edit together a lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty great. And I think it turned out okay, you know.
Did they choreograph it beforehand?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to just very quickly run around them and get like 15 different shots to make it look like I didn't just, you know, stand back and like it was an actual edited, choreographed, you know, piece.
That's awesome. I've seen videos of like that. And I'm like, I would like to do that, but I also know I would immediately forget every single move and just kind of like wave it around.
Yeah.
But I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and also for reference point, she already made it very clear to me that we're not having that theme. But anyway.
That's okay. I'll have it and I'll invite you guys.
Thanks. And I'll show up in a Jedi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but I told Lewis he'll be my officiant in the future.
I was very honored.
It's very suiting for him.
You need to start growing out the beard.
Yeah, I need to start
getting.
Yeah, start now.
You need to run for a claw. You need to get on that.
Yeah, that you gotta start working.
Gotta go build a $400 lightsaber at Disney.
Just for that one occasion, too.
Yep. Never turn it on otherwise.
Nope. Isaiah, do you have anything?
I do, but I can't talk about it.
Why is that always your answer?
Confidential information.
It's fun to enter because now everybody's like, "Ooh, I wonder what happened," and I'll never say.
Well, that's just mean.
Now that we talked about, oh wait, Beth, did you have anything? Because you never actually mentioned anything. I did see your those adorable pictures of the dino, and
yes, I met my little cousin. So
sweet.
He was adorable, but I didn't really do anything crazy exciting. I did a shoot. I shot a commercial for Lowe's. I think I can say that.
That's cool.
It's pretty dope.
I think I'm allowed to say that. I'm not going to say where or who was in it, but we shot a commercial for them. We finished wrapping. It was a long shoot, so I'm glad it's over.
She's a Home Depot girl, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was on set on my birthday, so that was fun.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. That was like a week ago, but I appreciate it. Nonetheless, but anyways, enough chit chat. I guess we should get into this week. Oh, sorry. No, Lewis, go ahead.
Oh, wait, every time.
All right. So since everyone likes to try and steal my thunder for my introductions to everyone's favorite segment, this week in Hollywood.
Steven Spielberg. I like how you wrote this as the director known for his big films like Jaws and Jurassic Park. Like nobody knows who directed Jaws.
He's really underground. Not a lot of people know about him. All right.
Yeah, we're very hipster.
Indie underground filmmaker Steven Spielberg revealed that which of his movies he thinks, quote, are pretty perfect. Spielberg stated that he doesn't really like to watch his movies after he makes them because he tends to ponder if he should have done things differently with certain aspects of the film. However, there's one film that Spielberg said he'd return to again and again, and that is E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Now, I don't know how many of you guys watch UFC or follow UFC. No?
No.
Okay, Lewis, yes? A little bit here and there?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, even if you don't, this was something interesting because I was watching the fights, and for those who did watch it the other night, you might have noticed a certain fight that was a bit out of the ordinary. So actor and Oscar nominee Jake Gyllenhaal entered the cage to film a fight sequence for his upcoming remake of the 80s action classic Roadhouse. But needless to say, there was a lot of viewers who were really confused to see the fight take place in just the middle of the event. Now, Roadhouse hasn't been given a release date yet, but it is set to be released on Prime Video by Amazon Studios. So for those who watched it or were there, you can be like, hey, that's me all the way in like row 34 or something in the background. kind of cool. I watched the videos and I was taken by surprise because I thought he was like legit, because he even weighed in and everything. He did the whole like, like whatever they do, showing them off.
Everybody was like, we entered an alternate universe for a second, and we were all like, wait a second, is that Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah,
No, yeah,
it was like a
saw a clip.
choreographed fight and everything. So like, it was weird.
No, I saw a clip of him like appearing on the scales, and I was like, number one, Jake Gyllenhaal is fucking jacked.
Oh yeah.
Number two, why is he at a UFC weigh-in?
He's going against Jake Paul. Duh.
I wish. But actually, there was another clip I caught. He during the weigh-in, like the whole face-off they do, where like the fighters get in each other's faces. He, I know it's probably for the film, but he slaps the dude.
Yeah.
And the dude's all like, like getting in his face. They're trying to peel him apart. And it's pretty cool.
I have to give credit to the whoever's directing it, because like they're like, you know what, we could take the easy route. We can throw him in our own made ring and just CG an audience. But no, the director was like, fuck that. We're gonna put him in the actual UFC fight in front of thousands and thousands of people and just fuck it, we're doing it live kind of vibe, and I like it. I'm all for it.
Honestly, that might have been the easy way. Like, I worked on this Steven Dorff movie. I can't remember the name of it, but I worked with the extras casting, and like we were trying to find enough people to like fill the stadium to make it look like it was a packed UFC fight. And we had hundreds of people, but you put a few hundred people in a stadium that seats thousands and it looks pitiful.
Yeah.
So like this might have just been the easiest way. It's like, when can we get 1,000 people pretending to be UFC fans? All right.
I got an idea. Now kudos to them. All right, Lewis.
Well, The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is reaching its 20th year anniversary.
Do you feel old yet?
It's almost as old as Beth.
Don't dox me like that, man.
I will be 9 years old.
You will be?
When that movie, I will be turning 9 when that movie first came out. Would have been turning 9.
Okay, that was the most roundabout.
Yeah.
I was like, you're turning 9.
I would have been turning 9 when that movie came out. But anyway.
Okay.
To celebrate, the film will be returning to theaters, playing with the extended edition. That means, Isaiah, you no longer have an excuse for not watching it.
Yeah, it's called I'm working that day.
It's called you're going to take a break and just watch a 3-hour movie. But
okay, that's a long-ass break. It's like a 4-hour break.
Regal Cinemas and Cinemark have confirmed that they will be playing the extended version of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King in theaters on April 13th. It's currently unknown if Regal Cinemas and Cinemark will extend the showings beyond April 13th or if other theaters will feature it as well.
Honestly, I haven't done it, but I've always wanted to go to a theater to like see a movie that I've only seen on TV, like Titanic, which is not, I don't know why that's the first one that came to mind, maybe just because that was just in theaters. But like a Lord of the Rings movie in theaters would be sick, as I was too young to ever be able to experience that, because when this movie came out, I was 3 years old. So
I was gonna say, when the first movie came out, you were just a thought.
Yeah, I wasn't even born. just to really make you guys feel old. But yeah, I don't know what day April 13th is. If that's a weekend, I might just go see it.
I would highly recommend it. I have gone back twice now to see The Lord of the Rings in theaters, like 2 different times when they released it. Once in IMAX, once just a normal theater. And like both times, it was like watching them again for the first time.
That's
like,
crazy.
Mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
So when, I don't know which movie it is, but when that guy kicks that helmet and breaks his foot, is it mandatory that the whole theater has to go, did you know?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I did that every time I made someone watch it. I'd always be like, did you know?
Did you know that he could?
Yeah.
The new CG animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie has released their casting list, which has got to be the most, I don't know who the hell their casting director is. They're on bath salts. The film is produced by Seth Rogen.
Yes.
And we call it the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And here's the official casting. Hold on to your seats. Paul Rudd as Mondo Gecko, Jackie Chan as Splinter, John Cena as Rocksteady, and Seth Rogen himself as Bebop. with some other important names on the list, such as Maya Rudolph, Ice Cube, and Post Malone.
Okay, you had me in the first half, and then you really lost me in the second. When you said Ice Cube and Post Malone, I think that hit me.
I don't even know what's happening here.
I guess it depends who they're playing as, but...
Yeah, because the main four turtles will be voiced by Micah Abbey as Donatello, Shimon Brown Jr. as Michelangelo, Nicholas Cantu, I believe is how you pronounce it, Cantu, as Leonardo, and Brady Noon as Raphael.
John Cena being cast in this movie is all... I just don't like John Cena as a person.
I don't know if I'm just old, but who's Bebop?
The like big bull guy, isn't it?
No, that's Rocksteady.
Oh, that's Rocksteady?
One of them's a pig, one's a rhino. That's all I remember.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh,
yeah,
Bebop's
yeah.
a pig. Yeah, no, okay.
Honestly, though, I don't know if you guys saw the trailer, but the art style for it is neat. At least it's not like the generic art style. It looks like there was actually a little bit of care and love put behind it. But I don't know.
You're telling me it's not a cash grab? Oh my god.
Well, we'll see. I'm not going to speak too soon.
You know what the art style reminds me of? A combination of Sly Cooper, but with like Spider-Verse sprinkled in.
Yeah, the Spider-Verse a little bit there too. I definitely got that kind of vibe as well. Speaking of generic art style, Disney has teased their first look at the Haunted Mansion reboot, starring Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, and Jamie Lee Curtis. So it's inspired by the classic theme park attraction, and the film focuses on Gabby, who is being played by Rosario Dawson, and her son Travis, who is played by Chase Dillon, who enlist a motley crew of so-called spiritual experts to help rid their home of supernatural squatters. Now, Eddie Murphy headlined the first movie treatment of the ride, but we don't talk about that. Disney is hoping this reboot is more of a hit than the Murphy-led project. So the teaser is now available to watch online. So go check it out. And the film will be in theaters on July 28th of this year. So we'll see, I guess.
And last but not least, Creed 3 is making history with its box office opening. MGM's third installment in the beloved Rocky spin-off franchise came in well ahead of expectations to score the top opening ever for a sports film domestically, not adjusted for inflation, with a whopping $58.6 million opening.
That's pretty good.
Creed 3 even bumped Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania off of many premium screens, including IMAX locations. It's the first sports film that was shot with IMAX-certified digital cameras and features 26 minutes of expanded IMAX exclusive expanded aspect ratio. Creed 3 is in theaters now, and you should go see it.
Yes.
I haven't seen the first two.
Neither have I. Anyways, that concludes This Week in Hollywood. You can find all of our sources cited on our Discord channel. Now that that's over, we have a few questions we'd like to ask you, Ben. Just kind of, who you are, what you do. So why don't you kind of start off with that, and then we'll go ahead and shoot you some questions.
This is an interrogation.
Yeah. When were you born?
Social security number.
Where were you on the night of your birth?
Well, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably everyone, I am Ben. My one claim to internet fame is I have a medium-sized YouTube channel talking about movies called Centerrow, and yeah, I just basically created that channel a few years ago because my friends were tired of listening to me prattle on about movies. And I was like, well, I'll just prattle to the internet. And then some of the internet started listening. So, and recently I've been a little bit more inactive on there because I came down with a horrible case of full-time employment. And, doing fun stuff. Like I'm a full-time videographer, but I still do love making videos every once in a while. And yeah, so that's me.
Now, since you kind of already brought up your YouTube channel, some of your more popular videos, which was actually the videos I saw that originally made me subscribe to you. I don't even remember when, like 2 or 3 years ago, are the ones where you kind of talk about CGI and like the path it's taking right now in modern film, whether it's good or bad. So what would you say is your opinion or your take on specifically the newer two big films, which was Way of Water and the new Ant-Man movie? Do you think, how would you compare and kind of like contrast them, because they're very different?
James Cameron kind of pulled a bit of a jerk move, coming in and showing up the entire film industry and the CGI. Like, I mean, the horrible thing is, like, his movie isn't even that much more expensive than Ant-Man Quantumania, but like the difference in terms of quality of CGI is beyond night and day.
Oh yeah.
It's every time I watch a new movie, I want to make another video about CGI and really just reiterating what I've already said in the 15 videos I've already said, which is like, why are you doing this? Because like, you see something like Avatar 2, where they actually gave the CGI artists, the VFX artists, like enough time and money and space, and actually the filmmaker actually like worked hand in hand with them to make sure the product is super refined and it's beautiful and it's making billions of dollars. And then you have Ant-Man Quantumania, which looks like Spy Kids 3D or Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Like, it's,
oh my god, the side by side is uncanny.
It's sad, is what it is.
It is.
There's a great YouTube channel called Film Riot where they do
Film Riot. Yeah,
just the best. Anyway, they do tutorials and stuff for those who don't know, and they did a tutorial on like how to make the background from like the world from Quantumania. And these guys, you know, who don't have a whole VFX studios, just at home in After Effects, created like literally the exact same shot that Marvel spent $200 million on.
Oh yeah, it gives me the same. I don't know if you guys know Corridor Crew. They do very similar. They did it with Star Wars, where they basically revamped like the original trilogy, and they like made it look more up to date and more modern. It just makes me think of that too. It's just like, that's where you can see the difference between someone who actually cares about what they're doing and someone who just cares about the money they get from it, you know?
Exactly. And it's sad because like I did a lot of research when I made those videos into like, okay, why does like CGI look terrible now? And literally the answer is just they treat the VFX artists badly. Oh, like Steven Spielberg, I was watching this little video where apparently he was just talking. It was a behind the scenes video for War of the Worlds back in like 2006. Oh, yeah. And he was talking about, he's like, yeah, we're actually, you know, we've got a 3-month shoot here, but we're spending the first 2 weeks shooting every single scene that has VFX shots in it, so that we can give the studios plenty of time to craft all of these shots. And that movie's like CGI is better than Ant-Man. One example I always use is like the horrible VFX in the final battle scene in Black Panther. And like I found out after I made my video and I mentioned that scene, the VFX crew had 2 weeks to make the entire finale. Yeah,
that's
of the movie.
Ridiculous.
No wonder.
That's ridiculous. They put so much time, or they allot so much time for like pre-production and production, that they don't focus enough on the post-production, which is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most important parts. Because that's where music comes into play. That's where sound effects come into play. ADR, you have special effects, graphic effects. You have all these different factors that go into the post-production part of the making a movie. And it's like, if you don't put enough care and time for that, all that work you just put in to the previous steps is down the trash now.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's movies that are really good movies that I love that then they have a big VFX sequence and I'm like, and it takes me right out of the movie. And then same thing with like, you know, as you said, everything post production wise. Like, you know, I love Christopher Nolan, but I almost can't watch his movies anymore because every single movie he makes gets more garbled when it comes to the sound effects.
Yeah, it's just, which I think Isaiah, you were talking about that. You said he does that on purpose now, right?
There was, I forgot who I watched, but they were pulling interview clips of him explaining why he does that. But yeah, apparently he is doing it on purpose for a very specific reason. I can't remember what that reason was, but it was more along the lines of getting people to come back to focus visually and then focus on the audio, but that the audio isn't as important as what's going on story-wise that you can understand visually. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then some industry, because there was I think that whole thing started off because for Tenet, Christopher Nolan got a call from another director and said, "Bro, what the hell's wrong with your movie? I can't hear a damn thing." And he had to explain it to him what he was doing. And I think at the end of the video, the guy was like that if he wants to try to do that, it isn't working because he's doing it for like, he started a little bit in like Dunkirk, kind of went harder into Tenet with it. But if he's trying to do something specific and people are not getting that message, it just comes off looking bad. And since it's not working. So he needs to either figure out another way to explain what he's trying to do or not do it. And yeah, that's why Nolan he's experimenting in all the kind of wrong ways, in my opinion.
So, you know, we're mainly going to be piggybacking on the whole idea that you have your YouTube channel, Centerrow. So my question centers more around, you know, I guess which films. How do you decide which films get your particular film fix opinions? Is that for like any franchise? Is that solely for like things like Star Wars or other things that may have like a heavy CGI background? And it's a two-part question. It's first that, and then what would your next set of films or franchise or even just one particular film in general? What would be the next one that you would do a film fix YouTube video?
So the funny thing about film fix for anyone who's listening who hasn't watched any of my film fix videos is just basically a writing exercise for me where I just make a video where I try to take a look at a movie and figure out like what little tweaks you could have made to it to make it actually really good. And in fact, my whole channel was almost just called Film Fix. Like I thought about just making that the entire channel. But then I ultimately decided not to, which is good because the Film Fix videos don't always perform very well. Because, you know, not everyone wants to just, you know, hear my, clinical rewrites of a movie. In terms of how I pick them, I haven't done one in a little while, and the reason is because I never make one for a movie that's just bad. Because if a movie is just bad, then it's just fan fiction. It's just me coming along.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what they should have done instead. And then I just give you my pitch for a movie, which I don't think anyone wants to see. I think it's really interesting when there's movies that are like really like pretty decent, but just not great. And if you like changed like 3 things about the movie, it would get incredibly just be very, very much improved. And I haven't done a video in a while because I have run like in terms of movies that are coming out in theaters right now, they usually either fall for me into a category of like really great, any like fixes I'd have or really tiny nitpicks, or really not great and like you should have rewritten it from page 1. You know, I feel like there's this like, I don't know. We're losing the good movies, you know, the good, not great movies. Like it's just great,
mediocre, kind of like in the middle. Yeah.
And so that's what I really enjoy doing. And in terms of which ones I would do next, I have a ton that I'd love to do, but they're all for older movies that nobody cares about anymore. So I don't know if anyone will watch the video. So like, you know, The Dark Knight Rises. I think I know like some ways to fix that are really easy and simple and would turn it from the pretty good movie it is now into something much, much better. Tomorrowland is another one. And so really it's just whenever I watch a movie and I walk out of it and I go, oh, wow, if you just changed this, and this, it would have been perfect. Like the last one that happened with was Wonder Woman 1984, where I walked out of that movie and was instantly hit by if you just changed this one part, would have been a million times better. And so it's really just whenever it hits me next, I might make one because I just saw Ant-Man Quantumania. I didn't really love Ant-Man Quantumania. I thought about doing a film fix, but my film fix is just don't make it Star Wars.
Yeah. Or Spy Kids, for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just bring it back to another heist movie kind of thing.
I was gonna say it made me concerned now that you say that, because you have a film fix on the sequels to Star Wars, and considering any of those three movies decent is a concerning opinion on this podcast.
Okay, so just very briefly, I'll touch on that. The 1 and 2 are decent movies. They are well-made movies.
Well, it was nice having you on the show.
No. Hear me out.
When you say 1 and 2, just to clarify, you mean The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi, yes.
Okay.
So both are well-made movies, right? And I feel like, I don't know if you watched the video, but I feel like if you make a few changes to those movies, they would become so much better. Rise of Skywalker is the only one where I broke my rule and I rewrote the movie from scratch.
That makes us feel a little better.
Yeah, because that one is insalvageable. Like you have to go back to square one on that one, and really, you kind of need to go back to square one on the whole trilogy. But I kind of wanted to just try.
Yeah,
no, of course.
No, I watched that entire video and on the just in general on the sequels, and for the most part, I mean, I agreed. I was like, you know what? Yeah, that would have been better. But honestly, I have to say I kind of agree that the first one, and I've even stated that the second one is a good standalone movie. It is not a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Like, as a die-hard Star Wars fan, it can be very frustrating. And then 9 we don't even talk about. It doesn't exist.
Right, exactly.
The way I heard it put best is the prequel trilogy is an amazing story, poorly told, and the sequel trilogy is a very horrible story that's decently well told, at least.
Yeah. And then the originals are perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to throw in there that, I wanted to throw in a joke that, in Beth's opinion, the best thing you could do for The Last Jedi is take out the director, but
yes, Ruin Johnson. You mean
Ryan Johnson?
No, it's Ruin Johnson.
Ruin. Okay, sorry.
The man's good at one thing, and that is murder mystery movies. Okay, I'll give him that.
The one thing that sticks out to me is the hyperspace through the Dreadnought scene. That will always be burned into my memory as a excellently portrayed scene in a film, especially a Star Wars film.
Also, seeing that for the first time in theaters was
that got me. I was
crazy.
Did the speakers
the absolute
break?
Silence. Yeah, that's when it's oh, post-production done well right there, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Isaiah a chance to ask his question.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. So, Ben, do you have a brother named Jerry? No, I'm just kidding. That's not my question.
I do not.
I was like, whoa, what is happening?
I do. You know Jerry? No.
Share Bear.
So my question is, one of your videos you were talking about video game adaptations of movies and TV shows, and one of the biggest hurdles you mentioned was just the medium itself of film would be its biggest hurdle for any adaptation, and it has to have compromises. You have to get rid of some stuff because obviously that's what you have to do in order to adapt something. Do you think that HBO's The Last of Us, because you did mention that specifically, that it was that you didn't, not that you didn't have high hopes, but you didn't think it'd be the best it could be given that? Do you feel you were wrong? Do you have any opinion changes that you think you were like, oh shit, they actually did get over those said hurdles or anything like that?
I think I was exactly right. Because like what I said, I didn't say like, oh, this is going to suck. What I said is the problem with, if I remember right, I might be misquoting myself. You've probably watched the video more recently than I have. But like the problem with adapting a video game into something like a TV show or a movie, if it's a shot for shot like recreation, is you're removing something and not adding much. You're removing the gameplay element, right? When you're playing the game, you are the character. When Joel gets eaten, it's you get eaten. You're not just watching someone else. You're like, oh gosh, this is horrible. And I just mean anytime you die in the game, Joel doesn't.
Yeah, they're just like, spoilers, Joel's dead.
Just there, every time you die in that game, there's a sadistic little cutscene.
Oh, yeah.
Where it shows him getting eaten.
It's rough.
And it just made me like ill when I was playing it. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep playing this. But and I was watching the show, and I've actually really been enjoying the show. I think they have done just about as good of a job as you can possibly do. I think they've done an amazing job. But I was talking with my brother about it, and I was like, you know what I feel like it needs? I feel like, I was talking to Jerry. I feel like it needs.
I was about to make that joke.
Like some shaky cam, like some tracking shots to kind of put you in their shoes more, to make it feel more gritty and realistic. And I realized the reason I think that is because that's what the game is.
Right.
Is the game has like a shaky cam following around the main characters. And it does a really good job of kind of putting you in their shoes. And so the poor filmmakers have done as good of a job as they could possibly do. They're just suffering from the fact that when you make an adaptation like this, you lose something, and you're losing the interactive portion of the experience. Though I think that's why some episodes, like the episode with Bill and Frank, if you guys have watched it, are so good, is when they deviate from the source material and kind of do their thing and build out the world a little bit more. Like that's when it gets really interesting and really compelling to watch, because suddenly it's not just, this was more exciting when I played it. Now it's like, this is interesting. And you actually just get invested like for what it is, instead of as, a bastardized version of something else you love, but I think overall they've done a really, really good job.
I would say it's still my favorite episode.
I'd like to add on to that because I've been wanting to talk about The Last of Us, and we've touched on it a couple times, but I really want to, there's one thing that I've been kind of telling everyone, especially at my job, because they're also watching it. The difference is that I've played the game 1,000 times, at least 5 to 10 times. I've played the first one. I played it on PS3, then I got it for PS4, and then I also bought it for PS5.
Naughty Dog has all money. That's what she said.
I am the sole reason that they're, I'm a huge fan of The Last of Us. So I was very nervous when this show came out because, video game adaptations don't normally do very well. Now, I'll just use my coworkers, for example. They never played the game. They don't know what to expect in the story. They don't know what's going to happen. And to me, as someone who has played the game, I feel like I'm being stripped from this feeling that they're experiencing because I, one, know what to expect for the most part. But also I feel that the show is rushed. And I know I only feel that because in the video game, you're spending hours in between these episodes growing with the character. So whether it's walking through a house and just to loot for supplies and stuff, and you have one little quippy one-liner thing or whatever, stuff like that. I feel that that's what made me fall in love with the characters. And I want to experience or I wish I could experience what like my coworkers are experiencing for them since they have never seen them. Like they're like, oh my God, that was an amazing episode. And in my head, I was like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. It's like, it kind of sucks for that reason. Cause it's like, yeah, I know everyone who's going to die for the most part, but it's still, I mean, I don't know if you guys all saw the last episode.
No, I had not. No spoilers.
I watched it earlier today.
All I will say is Bella Ramsey, you did an amazing job. And I was very skeptical on your portrayal of Ellie in the first few episodes, but you sealed the deal with the last episode. That's all I will say.
I think the issue though is with that is that even if you say it was like a book and you read the book, you would have that same feeling. So,
but I don't read, so that's what I'm trying to get at.
You're dumb, okay? So.
No, I was homeschooled. All right, there's a difference.
Old, and I love reading.
Oh, then all three of us, me, you, and Isaiah. What are you saying, Isaiah?
The issue though is like, so the feeling you had of playing the game and experiencing it for the first time is just the same thing they're having, but for a different medium. So, and there's no way, and there's always that feeling of, oh, I want to experience something again for the first time. That's not something you're gonna be able to get. However, I think specifically this HBO though is that they managed to somehow, because every time there's a new episode, like I already know what's happening, but they've managed to actually change up a few things enough for me to be like, oh, what actually is going to happen? Like, I know what's going to happen story-wise, but it's just changed, just twisted, just enough for you to be like, okay, but what can actually happen? Because
that's why I think I liked the Bill and Frank episode, was because it deviated so much from the game that I was like, oh, I can actually enjoy this as just a viewer and not as I mean, yes, I'm a fan of these characters already because I know who they are, but like, this is a different version of them. And it's one of my favorite episodes because of that reason.
I also wanted to really quickly just throw in, I have the dichotomy of being someone who hasn't finished playing the game.
Bruh.
That's a big word for Elmo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have this dual experience of like, I haven't finished playing the game, but I'm keeping up with the HBO episodes. I don't have a lot of time to play the game. That's the reason I haven't finished.
It's okay. You've only had 10 years to play it. Sorry, I had to.
Right, don't you have a disclaimer saying that you should have seen this movie? It was 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're the one that always is like, it's been 10 years since it's been out.
Right. And I never had an interest in the game until Beth really inspired this, like being like, yo, this game
just
really
didn't shut the fuck up is what you mean.
No, I mean, it was also watching you like play a couple times on stream. I was like, oh, this is a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is cool. But yeah, no, I just think it's a unique thing to be like in that middle ground of seeing both perspectives, both mediums. And like Isaiah mentioned, like being able to read a book and then watch the film adaptation. It's a very different perspective to take on the thing. And I feel like people are very quick to make the judgments and assumptions that they have because they're already used to one medium rather than watching both at the same time kind of thing. But
oh yeah. And I mean, I love the show. Don't get me wrong. I just, I do feel like a part of that enjoyment got taken away from me because the story, for the most part, I know what to expect. But like Isaiah said, it's like, this is the same for people who read like the Harry Potter books and then go watch Harry Potter. But it's like, in my particular experience, I've never read any books that got adapted into a film except for The Hobbit. But I actually watched the Hobbit movies and then read The Hobbit. So that didn't really count. But anyways.
You know who can take a note from, given adaptations? Anime and manga readers. Because literally every single manga reader wants their books adapted into an anime so they can see it. Yeah. Which I think is probably like the best version of like, oh yeah, I get to finally see that on screen. So when it doesn't go well, their opinions are very well voiced.
Something I wanted to add earlier too, but you brought it up again with like the book to film thing, is it's nothing like crazy. It's just a point I wanted to make, is that like book to movie adaptation versus like game to movie adaptation, in my opinion, is very different, just because video game, you already have the visuals behind a story. You already see what the characters look like. You're like, this is what they look like. This is what the world looks like. This. Whereas a book, it's all in your imagination. And I think that's where a lot of I think that's where a big difference goes with like the viewers and their opinions on the adaptation, because it's like, no, this isn't like the game, or like, no, this isn't what was in my head. You know, like it's like completely different reasons. But I mean, there was really no point to that. I just wanted to say that earlier and I didn't get to. So.
And now for Ben's opinion, since we've already cut him off twice.
Yes.
That was actually what I was going to bring up. Was like there is a slight difference between book and video game adaptation, because one is an additive change and the other is a purely reductionist change. But
wow, big words here.
Big words for Elmo.
There is like, no matter what medium you're getting adapted from, it's always heartbreaking, because yes, visuals are being added to the book and that's really cool. But, in some ways that can be even more heartbreaking because like, what you had in your imagination was so much cooler than anything someone could whip up on screen, I
agree. Now, since we've been talking about The Last of Us for an hour, why don't we hop into Big Brews?
So, I technically have two cocktails.
Oh boy.
One of them is the Nightlock Berries.
Oh.
One of them is the Nightlock's Nemesis.
Okay.
Not sure what that's exactly a reference to. Nightlock Berries was featured on, of all things, Fox News.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Hunger Games. I was like, well, yeah.
No. It was featured by Fox News. The story is done by Ricky Eisen. This was published in 2017. So this one may actually be, I believe from what they wrote, this may actually be like a reference to the initial movie. I just wanted to bring it up as being like a central theme in Mockingjay Part 2 with the Nightlock pills, with the reference to Snow's own health issues from his Nightlock, plan years ago, so on. But there is a Hunger Games spoiler alert. When Katniss and Peeta eat Nightlock berries, they are ready to sacrifice themselves rather than give in to the Capitol's demands that they kill each other. This cocktail is a delicious mixture of fresh berries and berry-flavored vodka. We also included a non-alcoholic recipe just in case the kids want to join in the celebration. Happy Hunger Games.
So fucked up.
That is super
kids,
dark.
let's take Nightlock.
Yeah. It looks honestly to me like a Cosmo with a raspberry garnish.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about this one very quick. This will be half a handful of raspberries, half a handful of blueberries, 1 ounce of pomegranate-infused vodka, 1 ounce of raspberry-infused vodka, and a half ounce of triple sec. You're going to muddle your raspberries and blueberries in a cocktail shaker. Add your ice, add your vodkas and triple sec, shake, and then strain into a martini glass and garnish with a fresh skewered berry. That could be a raspberry, blueberry, or whatever else you choose. For the kid-friendly, non-alcoholic version, muddle the berries, add cranberry juice, and then after shaking and preparing to strain, add a splash of sparkling water or Sprite. I say that because some people may not realize that trying to shake a cocktail shaker with Sprite or any other gaseous liquid inside will make the shaker pop open.
Yes.
The more you know.
Because I know there is at least one person who has to learn the hard way. Moving on to my second cocktail for this episode, being that it's part 2. From the drinklab.org, we have the Nightlock's Nemesis cocktail.
Oh, that one's cool. That looks like it's got...
That looks like something you'd order at a Chili's.
It looks like that.
Looks like the Starbucks Dragon Fruit Refresher.
Right? So our ingredients are going to be... There's not like a little excerpt or whatever here that like the other one has, but our ingredients are going to be 2 ounces of Silver Tequila, 1 ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of Agave Nectar. That could just be simple syrup if you had to substitute, 2 cucumber wheels, 2 blackberries, 1 ounce of ginger ale. In a cocktail shaker, you're going to muddle your cucumber and blackberries. You will add your tequila, lemon juice, and Agave Nectar. Substitute simple syrup if you have to, and ice. Shake and strain into a tall glass with ice, and then you will top it off with a ginger ale and stir. Then, of course, for your garnish, your second cucumber wheel.
Mm.
All right.
Well, what do you rate them, Lewis? Let's start with you.
I don't like martinis. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
I've made a fair amount of martinis, so I somewhat hate but also enjoy making martinis, just for like the visual, I guess, the flair and showmanship of making martini. So I give the first one a 3 out of 5. The second one, I will probably go with a 4 out of 5.
Okay. Ben, what about you?
Neither sounds particularly appealing, honestly.
That's totally fair.
We'll be generous, having not actually tried either, and say like 3 out of 5 for the first one, 2 out of 5 for the second one.
Pretty generous.
Not a tequila fan?
No, not at all. I don't drink very much, so like as soon as I saw the name of your podcast, I'm like, oh no, I don't know if they're actually...
I think my rating would be pretty similar to yours, except I think I would give the first one a 3, but I'm going to give the second one a 3.5.
Okay.
I'm not a big tequila fan either. In fact, I hate tequila for the most part.
As you
If I don't taste it, that's fine. But if I can taste it, we got a problem.
Tequila and I aren't friends.
Yes. Your nemesis, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, the reason I gave the second one a 4 out of 5, honestly, it reminds me more of a twist on a margarita, on like a blackberry margarita with cucumber.
Mm.
And I like blackberry margaritas, so I said, fuck it.
I also...
Isaiah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to say, I also gave it the first one such a low rating because as much as I don't like tequila, I hate berry flavored vodka more.
Interesting.
That's one of those drinks where it's like, as soon as I take a sip of it, I immediately am like, yep, I'm done.
I have a recipe that I'm going to make the next time I'm in town with similar ingredients. Not specifically berry flavored vodka, but just similar ingredients.
Like I'm talking Svedka blue raspberry like flavor.
No, fuck that shit. But just similar ingredients to that first one.
Okay. Well, change my mind. I'm open-minded. Isaiah, what about you?
Let's see. I think the Nightlock Berries would be a 4 out of 5 because I like berries.
Well put.
Yes, I like fruity drinks. I don't like stuff that except for Four Horsemen. We all love the Four Horsemen here.
Yeah. Love it.
I just don't like tequila. I hate tequila. Like Patron. If you give me some Patron, I will throw that up. I cannot stand that.
Mm-hmm.
So Nightlock's Nemesis, I'm probably gonna have to give it like a 2.5 because despite the fact it's got agave and blackberries and ginger ale, tequila is the main thing, and I don't like tequila. So
fair enough. All right, so across the board, almost pretty similar. Seems like most of us were in favor of the second drink. Am I correct? For the most part?
First one.
Well, for you,
you don't like tequila either.
Yeah, but she still gave it a better rating.
I still gave it a better rating though than the first one.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I prefer tequila more than vodka. Yeah.
Interesting. If you throw me some like red berry Ciroc in there, hell yeah, let's go.
Anyways,
let me some vodka.
Since we're on the topic of alcohol, Lewis, would you like to finish chewing whatever you just took a bite out of and then do our sponsor segment?
Now that we're on the topic of alcohol, thanks for reading your freckle watch. That was very nice.
Thank you. Now he's got to take a sip.
We'd like to take a moment. Yeah, we'd like to take a moment to deal with us.
Yeah. We'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Shaker and Spoon. It's a monthly subscription service that gives you bar-quality recipes and ingredients designed by award-winning mixologists, of which I will never be. If you'd like your very own subscription, then head over to shakerandspoon.com and use our promo code SIPS10, that's SIPS10, to get $10 off your first subscription. I'm so sorry.
There you go.
The alcohol's kicking in.
Again, that's promo code SIPS10, SIPS10 to get $10 off your first subscription.
There it is.
He made it through. My God.
Okay.
My God.
Let's sober up now.
No.
Never.
I have a fun question for today to ask all three of you gentlemen. This is kind of like a would you rather type question. So it is up for debate. If anyone disagrees with the other person, I would, of course, love to hear your opinion.
I disagree.
Yes.
Hold on, before we go on.
Yes.
No matter what the opinion is, Isaiah's wrong.
Yes, this is true. This is correct. Okay. Now, are you guys ready? Yes. Great. Lou's taking a sip. Sorry. All right. Here's your first of the two options. Would you rather A, be a tribute in the Hunger Games in which all of the other tributes are your friends, or would you rather be the youngest aged tribute, which is 12 years old in the Hunger Games, but all of the other tributes are 17, which is the oldest age?
Which friends?
Do I choose?
Your closest friends.
Darn it.
Let me ask you this, since you've already kind of answered that. If your boyfriend is one of the tributes, I will have fun killing him.
Well, it depends. Is he one of your closest friends?
Of course, he's one of my closest friends.
Oh, I'll tell him.
He knows it.
I know.
But yes, I will have fun killing him.
Who would like to answer first?
I guess I'll volunteer as tribute.
You fit right in.
I think I'd go with being 12. Because the thing is, I am pretty realistic, and I know that I would do something stupid, and in either of these cases, I would die. So, like, if I'm gonna die, might as well, not take any of my friends with me, and 12-year-old Ben was pretty crafty. He was a Boy Scout. Like,
Whoa.
He could find himself a pocket knife and do a little bit of damage before going out,
A little bit of whittling.
Yeah.
Me and Lou will die. We already died. We ate berries. We were not smart. We would not have survived.
We already figured out last episode that we were not smart enough to survive.
That's right.
For the record, I picked the wrong berry. Isaiah picked the exact same one.
Mm-hmm. Without realizing it was the exact same one. And I even told him, okay, Lewis picked the wrong berries, so don't pick his. And then like 2 seconds later, he picked them anyways.
I went with the raspberry.
I was a Boy Scout, but I don't remember which berries you can actually eat or not. So that wouldn't help me at all in that area.
Oh,
Of course.
Remember, always eat the most aggressive looking one.
Mm-hmm.
So, since I would like to also answer that I will also be doing the 12-year-old as much as I would enjoy killing your
You're
boyfriend.
going to be what?
Wording.
You're going to be what?
I would also like to be option B, be the 12-year-old in the 17-year-old's Hunger Games.
Okay.
Because I want to be the 12-year-old they underestimate.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I would enjoy killing your boyfriend in the other option.
Okay.
So, yes, option B.
Isaiah.
Now it'd have to be the 12-year-old. I can't.
You guys were supposed to disagree here. I'm the only one that disagrees with you guys.
You're going to kill us all?
No, I have another route. I'm going to, since we're all friends, none of us will want to kill each other, and we'll just do the same thing like they did in the first one.
And then
we'll
we all
just be
get
like,
blown up with a cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you only get saved in that scenario if you have won the hearts of the crowd with an epic love story. So I don't know if that works for all of your friends.
I could get 2 of my friends together for sure.
Well, then they'd survive, but the rest of you.
Yeah.
Are they all going to try to get a 24 suicide pact?
Yeah. I'd be like, okay, so 1 berry for you, 1 berry for you.
Now, just to make it a little bit more interesting, since we all just went, we'll be 12. If the scenario was slightly different, so it wasn't which would you like rather do from like a moral perspective, and if the question is in which scenario would you be more likely to survive, then I go friends all the way. Because I 100% could kill every single friend I have. Like all of my friends are just not very athletic. They're not very vicious. They've never set foot outside like for more than a night. Like, you know,
I hope they're listening.
Yeah. Oh, they are. And I love all of them, but like, you know, one time I suggested
he's backpedaling now.
No. They agree with me because like one time I was like, hey friends, we should all go camping, and every single one of them was like, ew, no, like that's where the bugs and the plants are, and I don't wanna. That sounds horrible.
I have friends like that too. I think it depends on the friends that I would be in with. There's certain ones where I'm like, yeah, I could definitely win. But then it was like, if Lewis was there, I'd be like, I don't know about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See,
you're just bigger than me.
I mean, that's not usually a problem, but I feel like amongst my closest friends, there's only really like two that would give me trouble in a physical sense, not in the moral sense. But then in a moral sense,
he's thinking about it. He's thinking maybe it doesn't matter so much.
I mean, there's Beth, and then there's like, it might just be Beth, honestly.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
You're the only person I'd kill. I love you.
No, the only person that would struggle to kill.
Yeah. That's all I've ever wanted.
And also in theme, to keep in theme with one of our previous episodes, my cat pissed on my blanket.
Again? This is not the first time this has happened.
Last time it was my pillow.
Oh, okay. She's making her way downtown. Got it. Well, that's my question for the day. I guess you guys have good morals. So
our moral compass is not corrupt. Yay.
Yeah. I guess you guys, and for that reason, you would not survive the Hunger Games.
I guess not.
Yeah. Now, Isaiah.
Yes.
What do you have for us today in the fact world?
In the factual world, unfortunately, I do not have a lot. It is a very short list today, so it's going to be brief. That's mostly because they filmed part 1 and part 2 pretty much back to back. Like they were editing the first one while filming the second one, and it was immediate. So a lot of the facts I mentioned in the first one kind of coincide with this one. So here are a few things specifically about this one. So during this filming part 2, Woody Harrelson left the set and missed some of his shooting time because he met and befriended singer Lorde and went to go watch her perform a concert.
What a man. He's an enigma.
Yeah, so her and Woody Harrelson are like best friends now, and he was like, oh, she's going to concert like down the road. Bye. And then he bolted. And so they were supposed to be shooting. They're like, where the hell is Woody? And he goes, oh, he's down the street at the Lorde concert.
I strive to be like that one day.
Now, the scene in the sewers, when they're all getting chased by the mutts, I think they're called.
Mm-hmm. Those things are freaking terrifying. That's all I can say.
Freaking monsters. Well, they shot in an actual sewer for 3 weeks.
Oh.
I know.
Did they at least clean it out a little bit? Maybe spray some Febreze beforehand?
I don't know. I think so. I'm not 100% sure. All I know is that director Francis Lawrence said it was truly miserable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're in a fucking sewer. That's so gross.
So I can only imagine. Now, this is going to be very hard to explain, but I have a picture of it. And you guys can see this in the episode notes. I've created a new channel in the Discord for episode notes. So anything we've mentioned visually or links to outside things or anything like that will be in those so that you guys can always catch up on those. However, for one shot in this movie, and it's about 15 seconds, and it's very hard to miss because even when they mentioned it, I was like, what is this? What are they talking about? I don't remember this. For one shot, when the squad 451, after, oh my God, I forgot his name. The guy Mahershala Ali's character, after he dies, and they go underground and they enter a ladder and they enter this concrete underground area that's got these large pillars and the ground's all wet. And that's how they enter the underground sewer systems and stuff like that.
His name was Boggs.
Boggs, yes. I was going to say Briggs. I was like, that doesn't sound right. The area that they enter is an actual real place. Okay, so the area that they enter for that one shot is kind of wild, but it's a real place. It's not CGI at all, and it's called the Metropolitan Area Outer Underground Discharge Channel in Japan, located in Showa in Tokyo, and it goes across like half the country. And I'm going to send a picture of what I'm talking about, and maybe you guys can recognize it. I don't know. It was very quick in the movie.
Oh yeah.
This place though is super cool looking and it's huge.
So
but
what,
the fact that like it exists.
What's the purpose of the actual building?
It is a discharge channel for water. So basically, like if an area has got too much water in it, it's basically like a flood channel.
Oh, okay. So that can fill up with water. Jeez.
So it is huge. It is long, and it was not CGI. So if you guys remember the shot I'm talking about in the movie, that's what that place is, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Now, if you guys remember the poster for the movie, it features Jennifer Lawrence in a red armor. It does not appear in the film. If you think about it, that armor never shows up in the film. It was only in the promotional material.
I know. I wish it was.
Yeah. So everything she wears is black. She never wore any red armor, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, throwback to the first movie, when Crane is talking to Snow about the games and they're talking about Katniss and such, they're in the Rose Garden. They're in Snow's Rose Garden. His Rose Garden is outside. But then for the last 3 movies, they all happen to be in a greenhouse that suddenly appeared. So there's a bit of a continuity error. Another continuity error, and which is our last fact, because I told you there's not a lot. Buttercup the cat in the first movie was black and white. Beyond that, every other movie suddenly was orange.
Did the previous cat like pass away, or did they just decide to change it?
I don't know. I think they said there's a possibility that the original cat was a stray.
It was just on set. They're like, and we'll take you.
Yeah. So they show apparently the cat showed like signs of being a stray with like its ears or something like that.
Mm.
But yeah, then eventually the cat just turned orange, which is actually how it is in the movie. Because in the books, because I think the cat's a tabby in the books and not orange. Not black and white like it was in the original movie.
I never noticed in that it even changed.
Me neither. And apparently it's a very big point. But those are all my facts for today. Sorry, they're so short. It was not a lot.
I'm going to choose to believe that the Rose Garden thing is not a continuity error and that this guy is just so rich he has a summer garden and a winter garden.
True.
You're not wrong.
Why not?
Yeah.
I believe it. Just to throw into that cat fact, because not even so much the difference, but it makes zero sense to me that the cat in the film, very unrealistic that when she started throwing things and saying to the cat to get out, that the cat did not move from its perch.
Yeah.
Very unrealistic to me, as I can attest from personal experience. When I make a loud noise, she will run and hide.
Or wants to fight you.
Yes, or wants to fight me, one or the other.
Well, thank you, Isaiah, for the facts. Even though it was quite short.
Yes.
Where
has this ever been?
Yeah, I think so. That was like, what, 3? Compared to like, even the last one had a decent amount.
It's mostly because the 2 movies were filmed back to back, so a lot of the facts kind of overlapped. So I guess I just didn't pace myself.
Yeah. No, you're good. It's okay. I still enjoyed them, especially knowing that Woody Harrelson and Lorde are besties now. I just imagine them getting like their nails done together and sipping on tea or whatever. What's her song? What's the song by Lorde?
Oh, other than Yellow Flicker Beat?
She's got a bunch. There's Ruler, or Royals.
Royals. That's like the one I'm thinking of, I think.
There's Solar Power, Green Light. She's got a few good ones.
So I'm hearing that you're a Lorde fan.
Yeah.
The 3 songs I just mentioned are the 3 songs I have heard by her.
That is 3 more than I know.
She's good. I'd recommend a brief perusal of her discography.
I feel like I confuse her and Lana Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
They're very similar to me for some reason.
I don't think I've ever listened to a Lana Del Rey song in my life.
I could not tell you a single one, but I could tell you that I tend to mush them together. Like when someone says Lorde, I for some reason think Lana Del Rey, and like vice versa.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Review time.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know how we're going to segue into this because I already saw Isaiah's Letterboxd review.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Letterboxd.
Yeah. I posted my Letterboxd review yesterday.
Oh, good. Glad we're all familiar then. Letterboxd, please sponsor us. Now, who would like to go first?
If no one else is chomping at the bit, I can, because I have thoughts.
Go for it.
Yes.
We're excited to hear this.
A brief introduction here with my history with the Hunger Games is that I read the Hunger Games before they were cool. Back in high school, like I read this like young adult series that the same author wrote. And I read those books and they were pretty good. And then they ended in this really dismal, depressing way. And I was like, well, that's a bummer. And then she comes out with this new book called The Hunger Games. And I was like, oh, yeah, OK, I'll read this. And I read it and I was like, this is miserable. And I hate it. And then 2 months later, every single human being I met was like, have you read this amazing book called The Hunger Games? And I'm like, yeah, the terrible one. And they're like, no, it's great. And I'm like, crap. I felt like I was going nuts. And I didn't get it until I watched the first movie. And suddenly I understood why everyone liked it, because the character in the book is this very dead inside character who's very cold, and Jennifer Lawrence really kind of brought a humanity to her. Everyone, you know, when they read the book was talking about all these themes of like, oh, the effects of like war and violence on children and social media and reality shows and all this stuff. And I didn't really see it. And then I watched the movie and I thought the movie did a really good job as an adaptation, bringing it back to adaptations, because it kind of expanded on the source material and showed you the behind the scenes and stuff. And I was like, that was great. And they were like, hey, they're making sequels because there were sequels to the books. And I was like, oh, what happens in those? And somebody, and here's where we're getting into spoilers, kids. Somebody's like, oh, yeah, they go back to the Hunger Games. And I'm like, what? Why? And they're like, and then at the end, Prim gets blown up by a bomb. You should read them. And I'm like, no. Miserable and horrible. And I don't want to read these. And so I never did. And when the sequel movies came out, I watched the second one because a friend of mine dragged me, and I was shocked at how good it was. I was like, wow, that was actually really great. But then I was like, but I am not watching the third movie because I know how it ends and I don't want that. And then split it into two pieces. I heard all these bad reviews and I was like, cool, never watching this movie. Fast forward to January of 2023, when I get an email from this podcast saying, hey, you should be on our show. And I went, yeah, sure. And they were like, yeah, we're going to be reviewing the last Hunger Games movie. So you should watch that if you haven't already.
Guys, that's us.
I decided to finally sit down and watch the last two movies, and I did not like them very much.
Surprise,
all that buildup, I was really thought you were going to be like, it was surprisingly good.
Didn't like them. The first movie, I'm just 5-second thoughts on the first movie, just so I can preface my thoughts. Yeah. The second movie. I was like, yeah, this is okay. But then the moment I watched the second movie, I realized just how much of a slog where nothing happens the first movie is. Like, you could edit down the first movie into about 20 minutes and tack it onto the second movie, and you won't notice. Thoughts on the second movie. Things I liked about it. There's a little section of this movie that is Saving Private Ryan meets Saw. And for that little bit of the movie, I was like, okay, all right, you've won me over. This is pretty cool, because it really did. The entire trilogy, quadrilogy, whatever, is like, violence and war is bad.
Yeah.
And like, I felt that with Saw meets Saving Private Ryan, where it's just like, the part where like the tar hits the guy and then he gets like tangled up in like the wire net thing.
That was crazy.
That made me like almost nauseous. Like, there's no blood or anything, but just imagining someone getting like mangled up like that, I was like, that's R-rated crap right there. That's like the Predators, like, net thing from the Predator movie. So like that bit, the bit where they're like running down the hallway and they're just getting disintegrated, there was a lot of this movie that I was like, okay, all right, you're kind of winning me over a little bit here. And I thought those were the best moments of the movie. And I will also give credit where credit's due, like in our modern day blockbuster landscape, where there is an absolutely nothing sincere, like at all. I really, I can appreciate a blockbuster movie that just takes itself seriously. It's like, this is a science fiction movie, and we're not going, this stuff isn't actually real.
Yeah.
None of it actually exists. Like, it's actually, there's a weight to it. When something horrible happens, Katniss is appropriately devastated, and the bleak ending has grown on me a little bit, because like back when I first heard about it, I was like, that's just terrible. But like, since then, like had a lot of years of schooling and learning and reading about world history and stuff, and like it is very, very true that very often, there will be like a revolution to overthrow the horrible people, and the people who take charge after the horrible people are overthrown are just as bad,
Yeah.
And so, you see that throughout human history, and it's very Orwellian, like Animal Farm. And so that bit, I can appreciate that, That being said, when you make a George Orwell-esque movie and then have scenes where Liam Hemsworth stares into Jennifer Lawrence's eyes and says, "You've never kissed me like that before."
It's so bad.
That was like kissing a drunk person. That didn't count.
Yeah, right. Like
that was rough.
Like PETA and Gail are like fighting over her, and PETA's like literally just tried to kill her. Like,
and Gail's like, yes, keep going.
Right.
Now's my chance.
Gail's literally like, I could not be any more erect right now.
Jesus Christ.
Like, it's just, oh man, like so much of it. I was just, and there's so many, I don't know, there's so, and I can't give the filmmakers too much flack, because a lot of this, most of the stuff is in the book. It's a very faithful adaptation. But like, the whole decision to have like PETA, who's like really maybe the most interesting character in the whole series, just get turned into like this brainwashed, like shell of a human being for the last two movies, who just basically just looks traumatized or angry or
like
homicidal. Right. And like that is the entirety of what they let this character do for the last like three movies. It's such a shame. Like, and while the somewhat bleak, oh wow, President Coin is actually really awful, and bombing children and all of that, like, while some of that resonates with me more now, like the way that war just affects everyone, even if it's for a noble cause, like it still just feels like misery porn half of the time. It feels like, the original author of the book is just like, isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? Are you sad? You should be sad. You should be crying. Where are your tears? Children have died. And so I don't know. I got to the end of the movie and I was like, this was, it's not serious enough, like, and grounded enough to be like a prestige drama kind of deal, but it's also not lighthearted enough to be a fun, breezy sci-fi, post-apocalyptic adventure. Like it just kind of just finished it, and I was like, well, I don't feel very nice, like yeah. So that's basically, my thoughts on the movie, and really the series as a whole is like, I think, watch the first one and that's about it. And the second one's I would recommend, but it ends on a cliffhanger, and right. It's not.
Then you gotta watch the next one, and then you gotta watch the one after that. Yeah.
Give it like a 3 out of 5. It's not a bad movie, like that a 2 out of 5 I consider to be like, this is not a very good movie, and like this movie is okay. It's not badly made. I just really didn't like the decisions that the author and then by proxy the filmmakers made with the story.
What I'm hearing is a future film fix.
I mean, again, that falls into what I said earlier, which is like, how do you fix it? Don't write it that way.
Well, it would be with the new Hunger Games movie coming out.
That's true. That is true. I can ride that wave, which, by the way, why do we need that movie?
I don't know. I don't want to even talk about it. The one thumbnail I've seen, it looks so bad. Just from the one still I've seen, I'm like, yeah, I probably won't even watch it, but
yeah, I have no interest in seeing Hunger Games, but focused on the villain.
Yeah, no.
The only reason you watch the Hunger Games is because eventually, you want to see Katniss survive. You want to see Peeta survive, and that's it. And so I don't want to see the origin story of how the horrible dictator took over and made everyone miserable.
However, that is exactly what we do with Star Wars. Just saying.
Yes, but I think the Star Wars prequels were a bad idea. No, I'm sorry. As much as I have nostalgia for them, ultimately, it probably would have been better if they had left it alone.
Oh, the silence. Oh,
my tattoo hurts.
It's like don't get me wrong, those movies are my childhood. I love them, like I honestly think the world building in the prequels is better than the world building in Star Wars, like the actual trilogy. Yeah. But just in terms of the actual story, the way it plays out, it's just kind of like, yeah, we know it's happening,
Oh man. Well,
that's rough.
We're gonna move on from that before our fight goes down. What about you guys?
I was
going to throw never invited on again.
Beth had the best analogy I ever could have thought of was that it was like Saving Private Ryan meets Saw.
Yeah.
Things that stood out to me in the film that I actually appreciated. Not just the violence, not just the nitty gritty of like, oh my God, these people are dying like absolutely horrible deaths. And the film is not like making it be like, oh, this could never happen in real life. Like, no, that barbed wire trap that he got in his heart. That is a totally realistic thing that could happen. The disintegration, not so much. But the moments of like Katniss's distress and suffering at seeing the reality of war, things I can appreciate. Jennifer Lawrence did an excellent job throughout most of these films, giving the character from the books humanity and also just literal reactions to things that would make sense, So like in the second movie, having PTSD, and third movie, and like so on and so forth, makes perfect sense. Things I wasn't really fond of, aside from my joke about the cat not reacting properly, aside, the whole Gale, Peeta, like that love triangle continuing did not make any fucking sense to me. Katniss ending up, I didn't read the second or third book, so that's why I didn't know how this was going to end. But Katniss ending up with Peeta and having two children, the second of which looks nothing like either of them. Let's also throw that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the movie ending on this sense of like Katniss is like, I had nightmares, and one day I'll teach you why I got nightmares and why they never stopped and why you have nightmares. And it's like, let me traumatize my child when they grow up.
So your mother killed a lot of people, sweetie.
Your mother killed several people. She watched several other people die.
And your dad tried to kill me.
And then your dad tried to kill me, but then I fell in love with him and wanted him to like try it again. But in the bedroom. But then,
oh no!
And then I went and shot an arrow through the heart of a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of killing the dictator I'd known all my life.
Okay, Mom.
Like if they had ended it actually on the scene of
them in bed together.
No. Because I don't want to see that at all. I don't want to see Peeta.
Where they're just cuddling.
Not even.
And he's like, "You love me, real or not?" I was like, "Shut up."
Oh my God.
That was some bullshit. But no, if they had ended it on the scene of like Snow cackling just before he gets mobbed and killed, Like if they had ended it there, watching Snow die after the other woman had died, after Coin had died, that would have been a little bit more satisfying to me personally. I don't know if everyone agrees with me on that, but
I do to some extent. I do like a little bit of resolution as to like, oh, what happens to the characters after. I could have done without the kid scene. I think if they had ended it in the bed, as much as corny as that line was, that would have sealed the deal for me. I'm like, okay, and they'll live happily ever after the end.
Right. And knowing, like that argument she has with, not even an argument, but like that questioning she has with Gale, where it's like, was that you? Did you decide this plan to throw the bombs that killed my sister? And he's like, I don't know. And it's like, no, you've ruined Liam Hemsworth's character as a whole with that final scene for him.
Poor Gale. He deserved better.
Not that Liam Hemsworth deserves better. Fuck him. But
no, Gale.
Gale. Yes, absolutely.
Damn.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I mean,
I felt some hate from that. He's like, no, fuck Liam. What the fuck? It's like,
you'll never be Chris.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm shitting on him as a man who cheated on Miley Cyrus with like 7 different women.
Allegedly. We're not accusing anything. Allegedly.
I don't remember what the number was, but allegedly he did that. In either case, those were things I didn't love about the movie. I also didn't love the pace initially, because I did that same thing in Mockingjay Part 1 where it was like fast but slow, but then fast again, but then slow. And there was never consistency. The portrayal of war and the reality that it affects everyone, and there are people who can be very callous towards it, and there are people who like feel everything. That was pretty nice. The mutts, unique and terrifying at the same time.
I remember seeing that in theaters and shitting my pants. So the silence, and then just like, I knew it was coming, but I was not expecting them to look like that. I was expecting like the first movie's mutts, where they looked like dogs or mutts, but like these were like zombie Wendigo hybrid demon things, and they had terrifying.
No eyes either.
Yeah, it's like Pan's Labyrinth on steroids. It was terrifying.
I don't remember what I read exactly before watching this one again, but I remember seeing something that said, like, mentioned mutts being like similar to like some of the victors. Like so Snow had taken some of their DNA and made like a mutt that had like the skills of Joanna, but the looks of like Finnick, and like, all this crazy shit.
Which R.I.P. Finnick.
Yeah, that part was horrifying. Like, oh my God.
And watching Jennifer Lawrence just be like, Nightlock, Nightlock, Nightlock.
Yeah.
Boom.
He deserved better.
Yeah, he really did. Boggs getting his legs blown off also, like, as much as I enjoyed the violence of the scene and the finality for that. I don't know if that's actually a word, but
pulling a Beth here, are we?
Yeah, finality.
Yeah, so I end up giving it a 3 out of 5, just like Ben did, because I think what really saved it was the grotesque violence, honestly. In terms of like a visual, like story, the reality of like their suicide mission, the reality of what war is to everyone.
Okay, so let me pull out my notes. Here's the thing about this movie. I want to start off by saying, at first, like immediately after watching it, I gave it a much higher rating. So that might have been what you saw. Then I went back in and I changed it. I think I took it down like 0.5 star. So not a big change, but I gave it a 2.5 kind of. It was originally a 3. I brought it down to a 2.5 because I kind of let it simmer for a bit. And I was like, compared. And that's the thing with, I don't know about you guys, how you rate your films. I tend to compare it to the rest of the series. I'm like, was this better than the last one? Which I think I gave Mockingjay Part 1 a 3. And I'm like, I enjoyed Mockingjay Part 1 more than I enjoyed this one. So that's the main reason why I bumped it down just a 0.5 star. I think as much as Peto was like a little bitch boy, his acting was phenomenal. Like, he did it, like, especially the scene where Boggs, like right before Boggs dies, and he's like hitting his head against the wall and he's like talking to himself. I was like, oh, why is this like making my heart hurt just a little bit? Like he just really does the little whiny boy that needs help. He plays that role really well. Along with him, I think President Snow, I forget the actor's name, and I'm really mad at myself for not thinking of it right now.
Donald Sutherland.
Thank you.
He does a great job throughout all 3 films, honestly.
Oh, he's the best actor in the whole franchise.
He did amazing. And I think his skill really came out in this one, purely based off of just that last scene where he's like cackling and the blood's coming out of his mouth and everything. It's just like, whoa, there's nothing said there. He says nothing. He just laughs. And to execute that without having to say anything, being able to convey those like thoughts and emotions without having to say a single word is crazy. And it was so good. I have to agree that the love triangle aspect of the film pissed me off as well. So for that, you guys already kind of covered everything on that. So I'm just not going to even, that's good. We're going to leave it at that for that.
One more time. It was, he tried to kill her and then she was like, oh, I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah. Oh, the attention. Yeah. I did kind of like this one because it was more horror movie-ish. There was jump scares. There was like gore, which I felt like not that it needs to be shown in a PG-13 teenage movie, but that's my personal preference, as I like dark, scary, like I love the Saw franchise. So of course this was like kind of more up my alley. I was like, whoa, that's fucked up. I like it. The scene with the gifts from the Capitol, the bomb scene, that one I think is the sole reason why I gave this movie such a high rating, or not high rating, but gave it the rating it has instead of just like a 1, because the plot twist that comes after that, where you realize, oh, it wasn't the Capitol, it was coin the whole time, I think executed so well that it's like, yes, you were kind of hinted at it before, but you still believe that that was the Capitol that did that bombing. So when you find out that it wasn't, it's like, mind blown, pun intended. But I think the like hearing the, I don't know what you call it, the beeping, I guess, from the canisters. Yeah.
Canisters.
Hearing the beeping and hearing like everyone's like sigh of relief. And it's just kind of like dead silent. And then it just explosions. That's post-production done well, my friend. That's all I can say. I love a good, like, dead silent moment to a huge swell, whether it's music or an explosion or something like that, like the seismic charge in Star Wars. That's beautiful because it's just like, I can't imitate it. I'm going to sound like an idiot, but you know what I'm talking about for those who are Star Wars fans, or like the last Jedi with the Dreadnought, that side, like it's like, oh, those kind of scenes are beautiful. So they did well on that. My biggest issue really was the deaths in the film, more so on the more important characters. So like Finnick and Prim are probably my 2 biggest examples. Finnick and Prim were side characters, but they were still like a big part of the story. And I felt like Finnick's was done better than Prim's. Prim was so quick that it was almost to the point where I was like I know she dies. I knew she died, but the scene was so fast that I was like, wait, was that even her? I couldn't even tell it was her. Like she literally just looked up for a split second. And then also when we cut to Jennifer, we got to Katniss, her and her mom have like no reaction. They don't even like talk about it. Now, hold on. I see Lewis wants to say something. Hold on. At first, I was mad about it because it's like, what the fuck? Your sister's dead and you're not even upset. However, later on, when Katniss sees the cat and she just like breaks down, I was like, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. And like, that part was done well. I just wish there had been, I don't know, the explosion part. I just wish there was something that maybe it was a little bit longer or it lingered a little more on it, just so I could not be like, wait, what? I almost went back because I was like, I don't even know if that was Prim. I thought it was like she was dreaming it or something. It was just that quick. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that is, but I do think both of their deaths were kind of underwhelming.
I was going to throw in her reaction, her lack of reaction, and then her overreaction. Perfect encapsulation of what grief is really like. I think that was very well shot, very well written, very well done. My issue was actually the one scene I forgot to mention. My issue was with watching Katniss take the concussive force of the explosion, literally on fire, and it's just and then she wakes up in a hospital bed, like working. Like ointment's working, burns are healing up just fine, like not something worse, or wasn't killed immediately.
It's funny because like when she got shot in the chest earlier in the movie, that was treated as a bigger like injury than it was than her sitting in front of like a massive explosion.
Yeah, that was treated as a much bigger injury than her literally being on fire and being hit by the concussive force of a second explosion, only like a few meters away. So
I was just gonna say, I think that it was just very like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Same with Finnick, but Finnick, at least there was a little more of like a goodbye there, kind of, which I get. Maybe the directors were kind of trying to go for that with Prim. It was like she didn't get to have her final goodbyes, because that is very realistic in war or in life in general, is that death can just be like that. But as a movie, it's kind of like, wait a minute, what the heck? But anyways, I could keep going on and on, but I'm not going to. So Isaiah.
Yes.
2.5, by the way, just to sum it up. 2.5 is okay. That's it. Average.
Now, I hit it with a 1.5 stars.
Oof.
I have the lowest rating. The lowest rating we have here. Mostly because of some of the stuff you guys mentioned also is true. That's what I agree with. Like this love triangle thing, stupid. Gale being like a little piss boy, stupid. He's got like this odd bloodthirsty feeling now. He's like, yeah, they don't know what war means, and now they're all gonna die.
He listened to one punk rock album, and he was like, yeah. It's not a phase, Katniss.
I hate my town, but I love pizza, bro.
Yeah, because it came out of nowhere of him being like, I'm going to save everybody by killing them all. And it's like, okay, chill out, dude. Does this have anything to do with that you're getting rejected by your girl right now? Like, what's up?
No.
Yeah, like he has no regard for any civilians, while Katniss has like the complete opposite approach of being like, everybody should be saved, but like has no thought of, well, there are still people out here to get me, so not everybody I shouldn't expect everybody to be on my side. And then she ends up getting shot, so I was like, okay, so you proved Gale's point, but then Gale's also like, yeah, I gotta kill everybody, so it's kind of weird. The tone is throughout the whole movie is really off, so like it goes from emotional drama to horror thriller to like some war movie, and it bounces around too much, and it's kind of off-putting. I know some people like that.
I will agree on. No, I agree. I think that I meant to actually add that was that I felt like the tone and the pacing was just like all over.
Totally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like what happened in the last movie. It's just like it went fast and then it went slow, then it went fast and then it went slow.
Yeah.
And now the sewer scene is probably like, if that was its tone and that was its like delivery, the whole movie probably would have been good, because it had a good pace, and then it was a horror thing, and it was also a war thing. Mm-hmm. But then that's like the only part of the movie that's like that. Everything else is just entirely different genres, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, Oil Trap was terrifying. Just how convenient, though, that it just happens to stop at the second floor, so they all survive. Just very convenient of that. Now, the things that Peeta asked are like, are these real? None of it was actually shown in the previous movies, and if they were like really, really quick. So when they're doing the callback, it should have been stuff that was filmed in order for it to be like, oh, yeah, it is true.
Double knot your shoelaces.
Yeah, like they said that. I'm like, I didn't know that. Like, how are we supposed to know that? That's not something I ever would have seen. But, like sometimes in movies, they show a shot of something really quick enough to put like your focus on it, being like, okay, they showed that 2-second shot. That must be important. Your eyes have now registered. The audience has now registered something. So now when you mention it 3 movies later, it's like, oh, that's what they were mentioning for. Okay, I get that. So if they showed him tying his shoelaces for like a second and it made sense, and it shows Katniss like looking at that, and then they moved on with the scene, and then they call back to it, then I'm like, oh, I get a significance. But the thing that they were referencing has no weight because there was no significant reference to it. So that kind of failed on my part.
I think Ben was going to add something a second ago.
Oh, no. I was literally just saying I agree with you. That would have been so much better if they had actually established like the stuff that he's questioning.
Another point is, how many times are they going to claim that they killed Katniss and not confirm her death before announcing it?
I kept thinking that too. I was like, dude, you didn't even like check the building to see who you shot at, or you just assume. Oh, I guess they blew it up, but like you just
didn't know that was her. It was just people shooting at you.
Yeah, there was just 2 people shooting at you. You watched the whole building collapse, and you're just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I got Katniss."
Katniss and everyone else too was in there.
Now, I feel like I mentioned this in a previous episode, but when you are going to adapt something, right? The things, you obviously have to get rid of things because you can't adapt to the entirety of the thing, right? Like the books, right? You can't adapt the entire book because then otherwise you would end up with a 6-hour movie. So what you choose to adapt.
What's wrong with that?
Well, then you would end up with 6 hours of the Hunger Games, and I'm not going to do that.
That's why he won't watch Lord of the Rings.
Yes. But the problem is that like what you choose to adapt has to be, significant. So when they choose to adapt things and then they like let that storyline that they're choosing to bring to film fall apart, or they just kind of leave it, they just don't touch it again, or like with Tigress, they kind of just throw it in there because the audience is gonna be like, oh my god, she's in the movie, and then just that's it, that's the end of it. It's kind of just doesn't it kind of falls flat. It doesn't really add anything when they think it's gonna add. It's just a quick like, oh, okay, moving on. It doesn't add anything. So the rebels just open up shooting in front of a bunch of refugees. They just go straight chaos, kind of going the Gale way of just, well, if the capital people got to die, they're going to die for our cause. All consequences be damned. It was like, that was weird. Also, in the middle of the chaos, they decide just to kidnap Gale. They're just going to, oh, cool, everybody's getting shot. We're in the middle of like a battle. No, get 6 guys to make sure they throw Gale in the back of a truck. We have to kidnap him. Yeah. Don't shoot him. Even though we've been trying to kill him for the last 2 hours.
Every other truck is going to get shot with a rocket, except the one that Gale's going into.
And that's basically all my thoughts. Everything else we kind of already talked about. But yeah, I gave it a 1.5 because a lot of the things just doesn't make any sense. A lot of things don't add up. The tone's off. The only thing I can give them though is that their acting, superb. The way they went about like creating the movie, great. Mm-hmm. I do agree with Ben that like the source material is kind of stuff they have to work with, and the source material is kind of wonky given the fact that all this stuff is going down. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Like Lewis kept bringing up like the mutt thing. Like the book barely elaborates on what mutts are. Like in the book, it's just kind of briefly mentioned, like, oh yeah, the Capitol sometimes just has scientists who like get people and then get weird genetic stuff and just kind of just smush it all together and create abominations against nature that they just throw at people in the Hunger Games. One thing, Beth, that I didn't even think of until you were talking. This is a positive, actually. One thing I didn't even think of until you were talking about the whole reversal of, the president coin is actually also horrible and everything. She only figures this out because that general lady straight up is like, no, let her in. She deserves to know. And so like that, then like maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that potentially is another subtle layer of like even the morally good and upright political person is still using Katniss for her own gain.
Could be.
I don't think they were that smart. I think that's just a coincidence.
We'll give credits to you. All right. Now I think we should start rating this franchise as a whole, just because it is becoming a rather long episode. Let's do this. This should be hopefully pretty easy.
I just like to add a note of my Letterboxd review is review bomb some kids and I'll tell you how I survived the nightmare. That is my review on Letterboxd.
Review
That's
bomb
good.
some kids, and I'll tell you how I survived the nightmare. You sound like an actual terrorist, Isaiah. Good job.
All right. First movie, the original Hunger Games. Where are we putting it at?
I don't think the first one is a 1. I don't.
No,
It's like a
I
2.
think.
It's
Here, let me throw a
it's
number out.
nauseating to look
I'm
at.
gonna say 3.
3.
It's the OG, but it's probably like not the worst, but it's like the most boring because it's older.
Let's look at it this way.
Yeah,
Are we going to throw
camera work.
any of them into the 1 category?
I
say number 2.
agreeing with you folks.
Oh no! What do you think?
So for me, number 2 is the best one. That's
Yes,
number 1
I
by
agree.
a mile. And then the first one is a very close second because the first one's the only movie of the bunch that actually works as like just a movie. Like you can just watch the first one and it's just a pretty dang good sci-fi movie with some interesting theming and stuff. It doesn't have the baggage of the rest of it. It doesn't have the messy storytelling. It's just very straightforward. All right, kids try and kill each other. Commentary on how we all love violence. The end.
I can agree with that. I would say 2, 1, 1, 2.
Okay, I'm going to assume this is what you meant.
Now the last 2.
I'm of the opinion I'd put part 1 at 5.
You hate it that much.
Worthless movie. It's all set up and it doesn't actually even set anything up. It literally all it does is it goes, Katniss is a rebel now. And it takes 2 hours to say that. That's it. It's just Katniss join the rebels. All right, moving on. So yeah, I'd put it at 6 if I could.
Oof. But not below Song of the Ballad Bird, whatever the fuck it's called. Ballad of the Song Bird.
I will add to what Ben just said. Part 1 is Katniss is a rebel now. She likes it when Peeta chokes her.
Oh, I forgot to mention this earlier, Lewis. It's even worse in the books because in the books, that little happy epilogue they have, they mention like, oh yeah, every once in a while, Peeta still tries to kill her in her sleep without meaning to. And like,
What?
yeah, it's just like, again, that's what I mean by misery porn. It's just like, really? Like even their happy ending is interrupted by occasional attempted homicide.
Isaiah, what do you think? Where would you rate them? Is that part 2?
I think Mockingjay Part 2 is worse than the first one.
It's like the one movie is lacking what the other movie has and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
So the final ranking of the Hunger Games franchise is Mockingjay. Hunger Games Catching Fire at number 1. The original Hunger Games at number 2. Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 at number 3. Wow, all these numbers are messing me up. And Mockingjay Part 1 in last place. So let us know what you guys think. If you guys agree, disagree, or if you would give an entirely different ranking. If they're all terrible, if they're all amazing. The possibilities are endless. I think that pretty much sums up today's episode. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Ben, for joining us for the final installment of the Hunger Games series. Sorry we kept you for so long.
No, it was a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed this. This was great.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell our viewers where to find you?
You can find my YouTube channel. It's just called Centerrow, like the center row of a movie theater. Check it out. I just do like essays talking about what I think about movies in the movie industry.
They're hilarious. They're great. And I agree on almost all of it. So if you have the same opinions as us, you most likely will enjoy his videos. Unless it comes to the prequels, apparently. Anyways, yes, go subscribe to him. And don't forget that next week is our listeners episode. So be sure to email us at silverscreensips@gmail.com with your movie suggestions if you haven't already. And also, the important news for next season is that next week's episode, we will also be posting our poll for season 9. So we have our 2 franchises picked out for the next season. So make sure to go cast your votes on Instagram next week. The 2 options are the Lord of the Rings series. We have Ben's vote. And phase 1 of the MCU. We're going to tackle that monster.
Only the first phase.
Just phase 1. Also, be sure to follow us and share us on social media as well so that you can get the latest updates. And so can your family and friends. Share us with grandma. Any amount of support really helps us. So please, please, please share us. We'll see you guys in next week's episode. I was going to say have a great night, but it could be daytime. Have a great night, day, afternoon, morning, weekend. That works too.
Have a good martini.
There you go. All right. We'll see you guys.